Welcome to this video where we're going to be speaking about Aram, son of Shem. I'd like to start with a few Bible verses. We're going to read first from Psalm 9, from verse 7 to verse 10. The Lord reigns forever. He has established his throne for judgment. He rules the world in righteousness and judges the people with equity. The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you. And I would like to read a proverb. This is Proverbs 3:6. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. In this video, we're going to be speaking about difficulties, challenges. We're going to also be referring to viewers who have shared comments. So we're going to speak about this throughout the video, but at the end, we will actually come back to these Bible verses. Let's go to the book of Jubilees that tells us the portion that came for Aram. And for Aram, there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates, to the north of the Chaldees, to the border of the mountains of Ashur, and the land of Ararat. We're going to be focusing on the land of Ararat, but first I want to just think about our map that we're working on and what we've done so far, and thinking about if the map is reliable and trustworthy, and we are on the right track with our map. Could we start to use what we've already done, and will it start to become predictive? So let me explain what I mean. We notice that it speaks about the mountains of Ashur in the portion for Aram, but it also speaks about the mountains of Ashur in the portion for Lud. So there's going to be a relationship between the portion of Lud and Aram. So we should be looking for the territory of Aram to reach to the territory of Lud. So that way we can actually start to use what we've already done in a predictive way, where we should be looking for Aram's portion to be reaching towards the portion of Lud. So we're going to try to place Aram in this video, or see if we can place Aram, and we'll see how reliable is our map so far. Let's think about Ararat. It gives us a suggestion that it's meaning Ararat. So the land of Ararat falling for Aram. Now when we think Ararat, our first thoughts might be Mount Ararat. This says Mount Ararat is a snow-capped and dormant compound volcano in eastern Turkey. And we'll go to a bigger picture so we can see the greater and the lesser mountain. So because this is carrying the name Ararat, we can understand why biblical scholars and researchers have been looking in this region for Noah's Ark. But one of our viewers sent me a comment saying that maybe we should be looking towards South Africa. So this is interesting because we have Mount Ararat. This is in South Africa, in the Western Cape. But there was additional information that the viewer sent which makes this interesting, which is a diving site, also South Africa, the Western Cape, Ark Rock, or Noah's Ark. Let's read this. Ark Rock is a roughly rectangular flat-top rock, surprise, off Seaforth Beach. On the Navy charts, it's marked as Noah's Ark. So very interesting that you have those two bits of information that seem to, well, they could work together, where you have this diving site, which is referred to as Noah's Ark, and then also a mountain in South Africa called Mount Ararat. And we can think about the Bible verse that we read at the start, and we'll refer back to that at the end of the video, because it does get difficult to try to digest all what we exploring, because we've also been doing our own research and finding interesting things. So what I'd like to do is go to the Bible verse. This is Genesis 8, verse 4, and read this part. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. So I wonder if this is actually an important distinction that we need to maybe think about. It doesn't say that the ark rested on Mount Ararat. It says the mountains of Ararat. Could that be important? Because if we go to the book of Jubilees, it says the land of Ararat. So it doesn't say the mountain of Ararat, falling for Aram, that it's actually a land. So what I'd like to do is just share some of the things that we've been exploring, so we can consider all the things that are in front of us, with let's say the more traditional place that people are looking for Noah's Ark in eastern Turkey, and then maybe a little bit more new and probably relatively still unknown with the sites in South Africa. But let's also share things that we've been coming across on this channel as well. We actually have on the historical record a kingdom called Urartu, and we see that it says in Hebrew Ararat. Now we can learn something from this page, where it says that in this text it says that the name Urartu refers to a geographical region, not a kingdom, and names 8 lands contained within Urartu. Just for our learning, that it does say that this was a kingdom, Urartu, but it could also have been seen as a large region made up of 8 lands. So it could have been a sizable territory. So we're just trying to contemplate the idea that the ark came to rest upon mountains of Ararat, so that we might not be actually looking for an actual mountain named Ararat, because it may have been a very mountainous region, difficult to actually locate the mountain. And the book of Jubilees is saying the land of Ararat, not the mountain of. We've also learned in our researching that the capital of Urartu was known as Tushpa, the 9th century BC capital of Urartu. So we're just going to share a few interesting things that we came across. We noticed on this 1710 map of Africa, in this region here, we have Tuspa, which seems to be the same way you would say this word, Tushpa. Now, with that on its own, it might just seem like a coincidence, but we also came across something interesting about Borno, Lake Borno. If we read this part, it says, the name Borno was from the name Bornu, and the name Bornu was coined from the Arabic word Baha, and the name Nuhu, literally written as Baha Nuhu, means the Sea of Nuhu, or the Sea of Noah. So this is very interesting if it's true, because why is Noah being connected with this region. So Borno, Lake Borno as the Sea of Noah. So then you start to have a few more, you have two interesting details that could link together, where we have Noah being associated with this region, and the capital of Urartu was Tushpa, and we do have Tushpa on this map. So it was very interesting. So in a similar way, with the example of South Africa, where you have those two details that could work together, we also have this potential in this region. And remember, if we go back to our map, we are thinking about this idea of where we could be expecting to find the land of Aram. And this would be in that region. If we think about this part of Africa that we are looking at, so West Africa, that would actually start to work with our map, where we are looking for the land of Aram. And it's also interesting, this river on this map, it's called the Great River. We're going to speak about that in this video as well. So what I'd like to say, which is going to be in reference to the idea of the viewers sharing comments, because we do at the end of the videos normally ask and welcome viewers to share comments. I just wanted to speak about that quickly because I don't want to make it seem that we dismiss viewers' comments or we ignore certain comments. Maybe you've shared things and then you feel that we don't actually use them or address them. So I just want to try to explain that we are building something. You know, we can see that we're trying to build something, and when we get new information, we then see how does it work with what we've already done so far. So with the viewer speaking about or sharing the information about Mount Ararat in South Africa, and then also the dive sites called Noah's Ark, I'm not dismissing this and saying that we shouldn't be looking at this or taking it seriously, but because we're working with something already, this is what I'm referring back to. And we're also using the Book of Jubilees as an important source that we are working from. And what we're learning is that Ararat is connected to the portion of Aram. So where we think the land of Ararat is or was, is going to be where we're going to be looking to place Aram. So I just want to show you what I mean. If we are to seriously consider South Africa for Ararat, then we would start to think about, if I just try see if I can move the Aram, just want to see if but let me move. We would be thinking about Aram, the land of Aram in South Africa. Does that make sense with our map? Will it work with our map, which is important? And we see how it's quite far away from our target area. So I hope that makes sense, that if you do share comments and you feel that we maybe ignore them or we don't take them seriously, just asking to please consider that it might be because we're not sure what to do with the information. Maybe it doesn't fit with what we're already working with. And that's not to put people off. If you know, we do still welcome people to share, but maybe also try to consider what we are doing and think about the information that you're putting forward. Is it helping? Is it working with this picture? So yeah, I hope that makes sense. We can maybe speak a bit more about that at the end of the video. This is the book of Isaiah. We're in chapter 7. We're just going to read a very small part from this, which will help us with our for ancient Syria. It says, this is verse 8, for the head of Syria is Damascus. So Damascus, very important for ancient Syria. And there's a lot of history surrounding Damascus. We can read that according to the page of Wikipedia, it says it's the oldest capital in the world. So very famous. What I'd like to do is just mention something about Syria, but we're not going to explore it in this video. So it says that Aram could mean exalted, but we also have the idea of high or highland. But it says Aram or Syria, the Syrian or Aramean people. So in this video, we're not going to explore why Aram became Syria, but just so that we are aware that we could read this as Damascus being the head of Syria or Aram. And we are discussing Aram, son of Shem. Now this was discovered or brought to our attention before this channel started, that we have a place in Nigeria called Damascus. And what I'd like to do is play for you the Strong's Concordance, the way we could pronounce this, or the way we should pronounce Damascus, and then we will go back to Damascus, Nigeria, to see how similar the pronunciation seems.
Strong's H 1834. Damascus. Damascus.
So what do you make about that if you haven't come across this information before? It seems the way you pronounce Damascus, Nigeria, seems, I would say, the same as you would pronounce this this word, Damascus, where we get Damascus. So I think this is important that we say this, that we can't be sure that what we're looking here in Nigeria, so it's on the border of Nigeria to Niger, we can't say that it is Damascus because we don't really have any way of knowing. But if we are going to be seriously considering this as the land of Aram or ancient Syria, the Bible is telling us that Damascus is the head of Syria. So of great importance to the land of Syria. So if this is where we're going to be looking for Aram, son of Shem, then we would need to be finding Damascus. It's important for the land of Syria. So that's all I'm saying at the moment, is just to share that people have come across this information, noticing the similarity of Damascus, Nigeria with Damascus. And let's just share a few other things that also could be important for Aram and this region that we are considering, because we also came across very interesting information with the river Euphrates, and there's also been lots of researchers on YouTube bringing out information about this. Let's speak about the Euphrates. Let's read this first part again, where it says, and for Aram there came forth the fourth portion, all the land of Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates. When we want to learn about Mesopotamia and search for it, we brought to this region. We learn that the meaning for Mesopotamia means land between rivers, or the land between two rivers. But to the Hebrews, it is Aram between the rivers, Aram Nearim. So it is referring to Aram, the land of Aram, the way it says in the book of Jubilees. So it's very interesting that, because we're going to focus on the river Euphrates, researchers have been finding names of rivers called the Euphrates in West Africa. Let's look at a few examples of this. Okay, so this is a 1742 map, and we notice here Euphrates River. And there's another map which could be in a similar region. Now, for this one, you need to be focusing, if you can see where my cursor is hovering, to see where it says Euphrates, because we're going to zoom in. So hopefully you can see there where it says Euphrates in the middle. And then there's another part over here where it says Euphrates as well. And this is an 18th century French map of present-day Benin on the Guinea coast of Africa. So we have two examples of rivers in West Africa carrying the name Euphrates or Euphrates. So that's very interesting, and that's obviously gets people very interested in this region and makes us think about now what we've been presented with for Mesopotamia and the Euphrates River. I would like to read another Bible verse. This one is Genesis 15, verse 18. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, so Abraham, before his name was changed, and said, "To your descendants I give this land, from the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates." I wanted to read this verse to show how in the Bible, before it says the Euphrates, it often says the great river. So this is why this river really stood out to me. Remember, we said we're going to come back to this. We have this long river, and it says the great river. So the great river. So that's what really got me excited about this this region, thinking about, could this be, or should we be looking in this region for the Euphrates River, and how will that impact the territory for Aram, because that's what we are thinking about for this video. So again, we can start to see how we're finding these different bits of information. Could they link together for it to make sense with Aram, son of Shem, for this region? And it's important for the Bible, for history, because if we go to the book of 2 Samuel, this is chapter 8, verse 3. David smote also Hadadezer, the son of Rehob, king of Zobah, as he went to recover his border at the river Euphrates. So the river Euphrates becomes an important landmark to show the northern border, or the northern territory of the land of Israel. So it's a very important marker for the territory. And in this verse, it's telling us about King David trying to recover his border, to establish his border, and fighting in this region of the river Euphrates. So it's very important that we are able to know where this river is, because it's going to be important for the land of Aram, but then it also becomes important for the land of Israel and the Bible history. In this last part, we're going to be speaking about difficulty, the difficulty that is in front of us and that we have faced, and also a bit more about viewer comments. I had a viewer who was speaking about this Bible verse. Let's read this one. This is Genesis 13, verse 1. So Abraham went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Okay, this is the NIV Bible. So it's saying that Abraham went up from Egypt to the Negev. If we go to the King James Bible, it says, and Abraham went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. So this is part of that difficulty about interpretations. Different Bibles giving us a different perspective, and this can create difficulty because how are we to read this? And the viewer using these verses and sharing his theory or what he believes about the Holy Land. And I also chose this other Bible verse for a reason. It's another example of this, because there are other verses that speak about the great river and then says the Euphrates. But I chose this one so we could speak about this because it says the Wadi of Egypt. And this is the NIV again. But if we go to the King James, it says the river of Egypt. So this can make a difference with your perception and your perspective, because when you read river of Egypt, the first thing you could think about is the Nile River. And then how would that influence your perception or perspective when you think about that and this verse when it's speaking about the territory for the land of Israel? But when you have this interpretation, when it reads the Wadi of Egypt, you're not going to think about the Nile River because you're reading Wadi. And it's important for biblical scholars because I wanted to see if I can find this map. We have Al-Arish with the Sinai Peninsula. So for scholars who are trying to understand the ancient land of Israel, if you have a Bible that says Wadi, then you can use that to try interpret, to create a map, to show the borders of the land of Israel. But what about the Bible, the KJV, which is saying that it's the river of Egypt? Gives you a different perception. And then that could create difficulties with how you are interpreting the land of Israel. So I just find that what I wanted to try express is that we do have a lot of difficulty in front of us, facing us, which Bible version to trust, which is the better interpretation. And then also where we have people with different beliefs reading these verses and then wanting to share what they feel about the land of Israel. So we have different beliefs out there. Not everyone is saying the same thing. And I think that's also difficult where we have a lot of interest, we have a lot of people who are passionate and want to share what they think about the Holy Land. But if we're saying different things, we could be working against each other, could even get argumentative. So that's why I wanted to read these Bible verses, just to remind us the part that stood out for me for this one, for why I picked it, where it says, "Those who know your name trust in you, for you, Lord, have never forsaken those who seek you." And then we also read the proverb, just to acknowledge God in all your ways. So that's what I was wanting to express, is thinking about how far we've come and what we've done, thinking about how we could, acknowledge God with all that we're doing, and all this difficulty that we have faced already and is in front of us. So this might apply to you or it might not. I don't know where you are at with your research and your journey, but trusting that God never forsakes those who seek him, that we need his help. We need God's help because we would like to go further to try understand the history, the Bible history, world history, and the land of Israel. But it is very challenging. It is very difficult what's in front of us because, we could receive ridicule thinking about Damascus because we came to this page when we made reference to it being the oldest capital in the world. But we're thinking about Nigeria, Damascus, and we said there's a lot of history surrounding Damascus. I just want to mention this example of the history. Let's see if I've got it highlighted. This is in 1400 AD. Timur, the Turco-Mongol conqueror, besieged Damascus. And we also have up here, it says the Mongol invasion of Syria. So we have all this history, and I'll show you a map for what we've given for the Mongol Empire. So this is the Mongol Empire, I think at its greatest extent. We see that it doesn't reach into Africa. And according to the historical record, the Mongols never reigned over Egypt, which could be an entry into Africa. So that again would be great difficulty because thinking about what we're actually saying, we could have many viewers that come across this work and then could say, well, you don't have history on your side because what you're putting forward is not accurate or is flawed because we don't have the history of the Mongols in Africa. If we think about this map, which is not to say that that I want to give up or we haven't actually got things that are very interesting that could answer those things, but I just felt at this point it could be important that we do think about what we believe and who we trust and asking for help and how can we acknowledge God in all our ways and also with the work that we're doing, that we know that we can do nothing by ourselves. So I don't know if that will be helpful for where you are with your journey. If you have also maybe experienced difficulty trying to think about all these different theories out there with the Holy Land and the Bible history. But I hope you found this video interesting. You may also notice that we didn't speak about the Tigris. So I'm not going to try to pretend that we understand all this or that we have all the answers. I can't at the moment say here is the land of Mesopotamia between the two rivers according to the theory of this channel, because I also still want to know and understand. And also I hope the part where we spoke about the viewer comments came across in the right way. I definitely don't want to discourage people from sharing. So even if you are not sure if what you want to share helps with our picture but still want to share, that's also fine. I was just trying to say that to give the understanding of the way I'm working, that whatever information that I find or that you share, I'll refer it back to what we've already done. So I hope that made sense. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope we do get to continue to work with our map and this picture, and we'll see you in another video.